What's up, everybody, and welcome to the Cult of Recreationalism podcast. I'm your host, Nathan Morris, and today on the show, we've got Travis Browne. Travis, thanks for joining us,
How's
man.
that? How you doing, my man?
I'm doing well. I wrote it, but it's like right before this, I kind of paused you. You were talking about the hydration sticks,
Yeah.
and we were talking about how people use them for like, oh, health and hydration, but they're also a really good
Yeah.
hangover cure.
Oh yeah, for sure, dude. I mean, that's been one of my go-tos this last week. I have a cousin comes in town and I swear our hobby is just drinking and it's like this stint. We like binge for the short amount of time and then the rest of the year I'm like he's like,
Hmm.
how many times do you usually work out or what's your diet normally like, right? Because when he comes it's just like everything goes to shit. So but yeah, even just yesterday I had threw one of these right before I went to bed and man, I woke up. He was like, "Yo, how are you feeling? Because you were having some fun yesterday." I'm like, "I'm great. What do you mean? I'm totally fine." But yeah, these things will save you from hurting the next day for sure.
Yeah, it's so funny because like when you're looking at like making like ads or posts for this, it's like, oh yeah, there's like the health and wellness, and then there's the
Yep,
hangover cure, and
yep, for sure,
one
for
product.
sure, and that needs to be its own thing. There's other companies that come out with like this pill that you take before you go to bed, and it's all BS. You know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
like I've tried those, and I'm like, dude, it doesn't work nearly as good as one of these hydration sticks and a glass of water or something like that,
Mhm.
and just dude, the next day you feel like a champ.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's it. It's just funny to me. It's like two totally different segments, but one
Yeah,
thing that solves both. So,
exactly. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And then I also use the Halo creamer in the mornings. So that combined with this is freaking my go-tos.
Yeah.
And regularly too, though. That's the thing. Like when we're out on the ranch and it's 100 degrees outside, dude, this is one of my go-tos. You
Hmm.
know what I mean? Is like just pounding one of these and the end of the day you don't feel as wrecked. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like it's hard work out there regardless. You're sweating, you're dude, all day long, but you can like recover better. And that's like the biggest thing with what I'm noticing as I'm getting older is it's more about the recovery aspect of things.
Yeah. Real quick, because I know a lot of people probably do know who you are, but I know there's
Yeah.
some who don't. So I wrote up a little
Oh, for
intro.
sure. Yep.
Let me know if I got it right, because a lot of this is just Wikipedia research. So,
Okay. Yeah.
all right, guys. Travis is a father and a husband, also a retired mixed martial artist. You may have seen him in the UFC, and prior to that, Bellator, Gladiator Challenge, King of the Cage. His latest venture is farming, family farm to table, high quality meat and poultry with Browsey Acres.
Yeah.
And we're going to get all of our questions answered about Wagyu. And yeah,
Let's do it. Let's do it, my man. Yeah. And more than farming, I would say ranching.
okay.
Farming to me is more um like vegetables and fruits and then you also add in animals. For us, we're primarily Wagyu, American Wagyu, full blood Wagyu, and then pasture raised poultry. And it's the way that we do it that really separates us from a lot of people that currently are in the industry.
Yeah. And actually, that was, you mentioned Wagyu. And how pronounce it for me?
Yeah, so Wagyu,
Wagyu. Okay. That's,
like
I feel like you hear like,
and then Gyu,
yeah, I
Wagyu.
feel like you hear like
Yeah,
Wagyu, Wagyu. And it's like, I
yeah,
know that's not
yeah,
right. So,
yeah. And
um,
people in the South go Wagyu.
yeah.
It's that Wagyu.
Is that where you're at?
No, 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 no. I'm actually we live in Southern California. Our ranch is in Southern Oregon.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then, so what makes Wagyu different than other kind of beef for people that don't know?
Yeah, so it's considered the higher end beef, and that really comes from the Japanese genetics, right? And it comes from the marbling, the taste, the tenderness, and everything that goes into that piece of meat that you're eating, how it's taken care of, all that. But really, what it is, it's Wagyu is a breed that comes from Japan. And way back or back in the 90s they sent a bunch of their genetics over so that we could raise them here because we have more land here and then send them back for them to consume over there.
Mhm.
But they ended up getting mad cow disease and wiping out like 80% of the herd in Japan, so they stopped sending out genetics. So whatever's here is here now. We're lucky enough to get our hands on some of the foundation genetics straws of semen, and we do a lot of AI embryo transfers and stuff like that. But we also do we have a bull or a couple bulls that we use for live cover. But the Wagyu, really what they're known for is the marbling. So it's that
Yes.
taste and tenderness, and it all comes from that marbling. And they're a high source of oleic acid too. So it's the healthy kind of heart healthy fats, right? It's not the super saturated fats that like clog everything up. That's really like the best way that I can describe it is when you have steaks that are out on the counter and you push on the white fat, right? Like say a ribeye or something like that, and it's really hard. That's
Mhm.
like the saturated fatty acids, right? That's like the stuff that'll clog you up. The unsaturated fatty acids are actually what's in the marbling, and that's the soft healthy fat. And so they're higher in oleic acids than other beef out there. So really, what separates the Wagyu is the marbling, the taste, and the tenderness. So,
Yeah. How'd you get into that? Because obviously, like, it's not your background.
yeah, I went from fighting to ranching. So, um, really, what happened is Rhonda and I bought a little place up here. It's about 2.5 acres, in Riverside, California, and we just had the space to like raise something. I'm a big hunter, a big bow hunter,
Mm.
and so it just, and my wife loves to prep, right? Like for like disasters and stuff like that. So with our powers combined kind of a thing, we are like, hey, let's raise a beef cow in case I can't go hunting, in case the world falls apart. You know, she was always joking around about it, but the pandemic kind of happened, and
Yeah.
we had freezers full of meat and we were good. We didn't have to go to the store, and everybody's panicking, and we weren't in that situation because, before the pandemic we were crazy and prepped for it.
Yeah.
But so we wanted to raise a beef cow here. And so I started doing a bunch of like research on what's this, what's that, and just trying to get the best of the best, right? And everything kept pointing to the Wagyu. And so I reached out to a few different people. A lot of people don't want to um like sell you just one animal. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? So I was able to, after months of research, I was able to find somebody to sell me just one animal. And and that's kind of where it started. We started raising them here, raised them out here for about a year, harvested them. Man, that was a hard day in its own. We were both crying because I used to walk this guy around. He used to follow me around for scratches and all that kind of stuff. And for some people, they may think like, oh, how can you do that to something that? How can you say that you love something like that, but then you take its life and you actually eat it? And it's like, well, that's why that animal was here, right? There
Yeah.
was a purpose for that animal to be here, and it's to nourish our bodies, is so that we know where our food is coming from. And if you haven't already, and people that are listening to this, if they do a little bit of research on the meat that goes in the supermarkets and all that kind of stuff, that's a lot of times where like a lot of sicknesses start, right, is from the food in the grocery stores, because 90% of that food in the grocery stores didn't exist 80, 90 years ago. You
Mhm.
know what I mean? So like think about where your food comes from, and that's really was one of our motivators. And so that we knew that we were getting the best beef that we could possibly get. Everything that went into that animal, we knew exactly what went into that animal, how it was treated, how it was raised. I'm the one that shot it, so it was over before he it was just another day, and then it lights out and it was done. So there's zero suffering. So with that being said, Rhonda and I kind of have soft hearts, and you wouldn't really think that coming from being fighters, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But we're like, we're never
Wait,
doing this again.
breaking
Yeah.
news. Ronda Rousey has a soft heart.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah, right. Well, especially like with that kind of stuff, it's like,
Yeah.
man, that kind of changes you. So, um, we were like, we're not doing this again. It was too hard, right? We'll have somebody else raise them and do it or whatever. We're thinking about ideas. That night we cooked up some of the hanger steak, and that moment it changed our life. That was
Yeah.
the moment where it was like, man, what have we been eating? Like, what is this? Why is this so incredibly good when I raised it right here in our backyard? Why does this blow everything away? And so then you start just looking, you start going down those rabbit holes and you start like figuring out what the difference is. And yeah, it took a lot of time for us to raise that animal and resources and all that kind of stuff. But man, was it worth it? You know,
Mhm.
when you don't have, or when you do have somebody that really does what they say they're doing, that feeds the animals the best kind of diet that they can get, that we use regenerative ranching on our ranch, so we rotate them to new grass every day, and the soil health is such a big part of it, because with healthy soil comes healthy grass, comes a healthy cow. Then that goes into you when you consume that animal, right? And even so, we don't do full grass finished beef. We do a grain blend, a variety of grains. We don't just feed corn. We don't just feed one thing, where it's like that um, kind of mono like diet where it's only one thing. It's a very widespread variety. That way they get all the nutrients that they need, and they're on fresh grass. So, but with that changed our life. We're like, this is amazing. I was on the phone like, hey, I want another steer,
Right.
and then that kind of started it. And we're able to find somebody that was willing to work with us at the time, and we started building this business. And Rhonda and I got into this, and we said, listen, if we're going to do this, we want to make sure that we try to make a difference, right? We don't want to just be every other commodity beef provider or producer, and just kind of be a cog in the wheel. We want to find a way to really make a difference. And so we decided to go the regenerative ranching route, which again I just kind of alluded to it, which is like really focused about soil health, and that's our main goal, is to take a piece of land, regenerate it, have it produce the most amazing protein that you can get, or grass, but then that turns into protein with the cows. But that's the goal. That's one of our biggest drivers, is knowing where your food comes from, knowing that when you buy from us, that we take care of those animals and they get the best.
Yeah. It's interesting because so I grew up in rural Missouri, and grandparents on both sides raised cattle, and were they probably call themselves cattle farmers. I know there's like a ranch, but like they
Yeah.
I know we talked about that a little bit, but it's funny. So my parents still live on a lot of that land,
Hmm.
and like every year my dad's not the one actually farming it, he leases it out, but like every year, like when people see like a cornfield, it's not a cornfield every year. It's corn this year, it's barley, like because it some of those actually like put nutrients back into the soil, and people
Hmm.
don't realize that.
Yeah.
So like if you're driving down the highway, it's not always a cornfield every time you
Yeah.
drive through there. So
Yeah, and there's even newer ways of like regenerative ranching, because like you were saying, if you just do a monocrop every year, the same thing, it strips the soil of all the minerals and vitamins that it needs to make you healthy. You know what I mean? Then you're talking about pesticides and all this kind of stuff. And there's just a better way to do it, and I think more people are learning that way and are converting their conventional either farms or ranches into the regenerative route, because it's just a better production, higher yield, less input, less human inputs. You know what I mean? You don't have to go and buy all the fertilizer and pesticides, because you're letting nature take care of itself.
mhm. Yeah. No, it's yeah, you're 100% right. So I have nothing to add to that. You're the expert here. I don't know why I'm trying to add on to what you're saying.
No, you're good, man. You're
Yeah.
good. I love it.
Yeah.
I love the dialogue.
It was interesting. So like my grandparents, we had, so there was cattle like where like our house was on the land that my grandpa was cattle farming.
Hmm.
And I remember as a kid, like every Saturday we'd go over there while my parents went to work, and my grandpa would take us out in the tractor and like just feed the cattle. He'd put out hay bales,
Yeah.
um and I remember he always said like, "Oh, that's your cow." And I remember it was probably like 2 years later, I'm like, "Grandpa, where's my cow?" And he's like, it's that one. Like just picked a random cow. It had probably been processed at that point, but
Yeah. Yeah.
it
Yeah.
was one of those like core memory that I realized later on, like, oh, that wasn't my cow. That's just a different
Yeah.
cow.
Yeah. Yeah, well, Grandpa has to kind of,
Yeah.
work it a little bit. You know what I mean? I'm
Yeah.
I'm I'm sure I'll be doing the same thing, but I think too, it's okay, to teach your kids where the food comes from.
Yeah.
Like hey, this like we name every one of our animals usually like our beef animals that we have for the family, but it's usually after a cut of beef, right? Like we have two steers on the hoof right now that are one's name is Brisket, the other one's name is Chucky, right? So like for Chuck Eye or Chuck Roast or
Yeah.
something like that, right? So it's like, you know, yeah, I mean, give them a name or whatever, but understand that we're going to consume that animal to bring nutrients back into our family. You know what I mean? And then that's okay. Like teaching our kids, like we have a 2-year-old. A few back in 2018, I think is when we had our first harvest. My older boys were, man, 9 and 10, and they were there when we harvested them, and they got to see kind of the process and what it took to put that meat on your table, and I think that is the way to go. I think that is what parents should be teaching, not that steaks come from the grocery store. Your meat doesn't come from the grocery store. You know what I mean? That's
It,
just where it's sold.
it ends up at the
And
grocery store.
and
Yeah.
what's that?
It just ends up at the grocery store. That's not where it's
Exactly.
from.
Yeah. Like I get comments on our social media like, why would you kill that animal? Why wouldn't you just go to the store and buy steak? And it's like, well, like, do you know what you're saying right now?
Yeah.
Like I'm sorry, but that what?
Let's process
Like
it. Let's think about this.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's like let's take a step back and you just got to learn that some people are just so disconnected from their food and they feel like, that the American diet is okay, and that's not. They're so far removed from, all the processed foods that we're eating, and that's some of the stuff like that you guys have, like the collagen and the hydration sticks and the Halo creamer, and it's like it talks like you need some more extra nutrients because our food doesn't have it anymore.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? Our food's like empty from all the necessary nutrients, vitamins, and minerals that our bodies need. So you have to supplement, and people are just so far removed from that. But that's some of like what we want to change at Browsey is like when you get this meat is nutrient dense. It has all the vitamins and minerals that you need. It's on fresh pasture. They're eating the grass from the healthy soil, and that gives them the nutrients, the vitamins and minerals that they need to be able to thrive. And instead of just an empty piece of meat from the store that was commodity beef, and it just doesn't taste right. It doesn't taste like anything.
Mhm. Yeah. It's like you don't have to add all these seasonings to what you guys are putting out. Like
Yeah.
just a little salt.
And
Yeah.
yeah, exactly. That's what I mean. Like, that's the difference. That's why, like, we sit here almost every night. We say the same stuff over and over again. We'll cook up a steak, and it's like we just eat it with white rice and maybe green beans or
Mhm.
asparagus, some kind of veggie, right?
Yes.
Zucchini or something like that, and super simple and easy. And we're like, man, this is. I could eat this every night,
Yeah.
and we do. We eat that every night. You know what I mean? Because it's just so good. It's so much better than going out. Every time we go out, we're like, "Oh, what do we do?" And we're all bloated and like, just not feeling well. But when we cook here, we feel good, and it's noticeable. You
Yeah.
know?
It's kind of crazy. So I own a gym too. Like I live in Colorado and I own a gym here, and
Mhm.
people are like, "Hey, like nutrition is almost always the answer." Of they're like, "Hey, like I've
Yeah.
started plateauing. Like what kind like nutrition? Like we got to dial it in." And honestly, the easiest thing for people to do is like cook at home, because you have full control over everything that you're putting in. It's not dipped in butter or whatever. Like, and you didn't
Yep.
realize it was gonna be.
Yep.
Um, you're not ordering it. It comes out fried, and you didn't know that's the standard way that it comes out instead of grilled.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so,
Well, I think too, like Whole Foods, right? Like
mhm.
get you just whole foods. Stop with the processed stuff. If it has like an ingredient list, it's probably not going to be good for you. You
Yeah.
know what I mean?
Uh-huh.
Like again. we eat super simple around here. You know, for lunch we'll have chicken and quinoa and a veggie or something like that, and it's like, man, your body will tell you when to stop eating because it's not inflated with all this crap that makes you feel like you're hungrier than you are. You can eat more than what you really should eat, you know.
It's
You eat a
designed to make you want more. Yeah.
Exactly. And that's what, like, people don't understand. Like, there's messed up people in the world that design the food to make that a thing.
Yeah. And
You
they
know what I
own all
mean?
the
Like,
foods.
and they, oh yeah, they own all the
Yeah.
foods, and that's the great. Like, I heard something. It was on social media, so take it for what it is. But I heard that the tobacco company back in the day started buying up the food companies, and they took their scientists over into these food companies to help engineer these foods to make them more addicting, so that they'll want to buy more. And that's what it's all about, right? That's what the tobacco companies did. That's what the food industry is doing. And then they're tied in with like the healthcare system because they want to sell you a pill to make you feel better from the food that you're eating that they're also selling you. And it's like this big vicious cycle. It's like, stop, break away from all of that, eat whole foods, right? Like, even if you have to go to the store, right? Buy ground beef, buy veggies, buy rice. You know what I mean? And it's so cheap to eat it that way. You don't need all this money, all this weird like contraptions in your kitchen to cook, to do this stuff. Like, you don't need that, right? You just need very simple things, but eat whole food, salt, pepper, a little bit of that, especially when you have really good ingredients like our steak or our chicken, like our Wagyu or our poultry. Very little seasoning, a little bit of salt, a little bit of pepper, and you're good to go. Simplicity is key in my
Yeah.
mind.
Yeah. We always say when you go to the grocery store, don't go in the middle. Just stay on the outside because that's where
Yeah.
all the whole foods are. Like if it comes in a box, you don't need it. Like,
Yeah.
so I like what you said,
Refrigerated.
like the ingredient list. Like if there's more than the more ingredients, the worse it is for you. So
Yeah,
yeah.
exactly. Like, you look at it when, the only time we really go shopping for anything at the store is for veggies.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? That's really it. Fruits and veggies. Fruits. We have a our little daughter and stuff like that. So it's just like fruits and veggies is all we really buy from there
Yeah.
because we have all the protein that we could ever want or need. So yeah, and it just keeps that, like we were saying, the ingredient list down. It's avocado. It's asparagus. There's nothing else in there, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. There's not a whole lot else to an avocado besides the avocado.
Yeah, yeah,
So
exactly.
yeah. Was the nutrition and diet and all that, like back in your fighting days, did you take that stuff seriously or were you kind of like I feel like the nutrition, it's definitely common now, but it wasn't always. Where did that fall for
Yeah.
you?
So that towards, I would say, the middle of my career is when I really started focusing on nutrition. So I teamed up with Dan Garner, um and he is like a mad scientist when it comes to your nutrition. He does everything based off of your blood work, right? So
Oh,
it's
very nice.
not like just how are you feeling or how you're looking, like aesthetics. It's like, this is what your blood's telling me. And then when you start fixing those problems that you have, because everybody has them, right? Then you start feeling so much better. But yeah, Dan Gardner, he's the one that got me really locked and loaded for my nutrition. Really kind of brought awareness for me as far as that nutrition goes, because it's super important as an athlete, but then also being a father and a husband and stuff like that. You start thinking about, like, well, my own choices can either make or break me. You know what I mean? Like, they compound one way or the other. And it's funny because we actually, in the agriculture business, and I went to a soil health academy to learn about more in detail about regenerative ranching. And they said that your decisions compound either one way or the other. There's no there's no sustainability. It's not about staying where you're at. Your choices will either compound and make it better, or they'll compound and make it worse. And I
Mhm.
feel like our life choices do the same thing. Are we going to get healthier and healthier, or our decisions going to make us less and less healthy, right? Like there's always ups and downs. I get like we started this conversation with my cousin being in town, and
Yeah.
hey, we just eat whatever. I don't work out, and we're drinking. We need these hydration sticks and stuff like that. But then when when he's gone, I'm back on track and making better decisions and moving towards my goal of being healthy.
Yeah. Well, it's almost like it's there's an unhealthy obsession if you never let yourself indulge. Like
Yeah,
not saying you should go eat whatever you want, but every once in a while, like your cousin comes into town, you said once a year, every other year,
yeah,
like yeah,
yeah.
have a weekend. Like
Exactly. Yeah, like you need to cut yourself a break,
yeah.
like, and I think that's just healthy, like mentally. A lot of people talk about mental health now and stuff like that. And I think that really helps with that. You don't get so hard on yourself where you're like, oh, I'm feeling so down because I missed this meal or something like that. It's like, dude, this is life. Enjoy the ride. You know what I mean? Like it's not about the destination, it's about the ride. The destination, unfortunately, and for everybody in this life is death,
Yeah.
right? But what's your journey going to be? Are you going to enjoy that ride while you're here? And that's like that mentality, having that mentality is something that like I've been really learning that over the last, maybe 10 years or so is really how to enjoy that ride and things will work out. Um, and just go with the flow.
Yeah. Did you hit like was there something that happened in life that you made that realization of like, oh, I need to tone it back a little bit and just enjoy things? Like, was there a moment or how did you get there?
You know, it's an ongoing lesson that I'm learning because I tend to hyper focus when I focus on something. I zone in so like that's why. So in my career, my fighting career, I was an unknown, right? I had just started training when I was 27 years old. You know what I mean? So like, or I'm sorry, I started training when I was 26 years old. Any kind of combat when I was 26, right? So that's like really almost unheard of.
That's
Nowadays,
late.
guys are getting more and more into it. But when I was 27, after a year of fighting, I joined the UFC and that was in 2010. In 2013, I was ranked third in the world in fighting, right? So in 3 years, I went from being nobody to being ranked third in the world in the UFC. So that was that hyper focus, right? That was like nothing is going to get in my way, and maybe at times I didn't enjoy the ride so much. You know what I mean?
Okay.
And so like once I when I had my last fight, it was one of those things where I like you start to look back on your career and you're like, man, I yes, I was focused and all that kind of stuff, but maybe I might maybe I wish I would have enjoyed the ride a little bit more, you know?
Yeah.
Because now it's like kind of done. You see
Mhm.
what I mean? And now all I have are those memories of an amazing career that I had a lot of fun doing, competing and all that kind of stuff. But more now and even with the ranch, like I get so hyper focused on this ranch and learning everything about ranching, going to seminars, learning about the Wagyu breed and what makes them so special and why we have a full blood and then we also have our American Wagyu cross, which is Angus and Wagyu, and what makes those guys special. And then regenerative ranching and how to rotate your animals from one pasture from every day, right? And then bringing in another species in chickens and how to orchestrate this chaos into making this a beautiful music, which then helps feed the soil, which helps make everything healthy and thrive, right? Like we have quail and we're starting to get all the insects back and we have herds of antelope and deer on our property now. We have like water flowing a lot more. We have better retention of our water. Our cattle are looking healthier. You know what I mean? So it's like
Mhm.
everything. So it's again that hyper focus of like always kind of felt like I was behind. Like in my fighting career, I started late. In my ranching career, I started late, and so sometimes I feel like I have a lot of catch up. Right?
Yeah.
I need to learn as much as I can to catch up. But then sometimes I lose sight of like enjoying that ride. So to me, there wasn't that just one moment. It's an ongoing lesson that I have to remind myself. Is like enjoy this time.
Yeah.
and
Well, at
have
least you
fun with your
realized it and
family.
figured that out because a lot of people
Yeah.
don't.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
And I think a lot of people think about it, but then they forget about it.
mm,
And that's okay. Like, just keep reminding yourself, enjoy the ride.
mm,
It's okay.
yeah. So, what does I totally like you moved on from fighting, you're now ranching. What does a typical day look like for you now?
So right now, so when I'm on the ranch, a typical day usually starts about 4:30 or 5. We get up, we rotate the animals. That usually takes about an hour or two. And then we're on to whatever the daily projects are. There's always fixing fences or doctoring animals, making sure that they're all healthy and get whatever they need. And there's always projects around the house or around the ranch that need to be done. So usually you start your day at 4:30 or 5, and you're done when the sun goes down around 8:30, and then you get to eat dinner, go to bed, and redo that. So,
Yeah.
but that's when I'm up at the ranch. So I'm up at the ranch at least once a month. During the summer, I'm usually up there a lot more. But like last month, I was up there for like 3.5 weeks out of the month. You know what I mean? So they're super busy during the summer. Um, but yeah, I mean, it's just you know, constant work, and then also running the business side of things, like the website and the customer service and all of our shipping needs. And there's so much to it when
Is that you running the customer service on the website?
yeah.
So if people want to get in contact with you, they just need to go to the info at Browsey Acres.
Yeah, and you'll get me, buddy. You know what I mean? So yeah, like people. There's a little bit, maybe there's a little bit of a misconception when it comes to Browsey Acres, like, oh, this is just Rhonda and Travis putting their name on something, and they don't really have, they're not really doing it themselves. Like, that's not the case here, right? Like, we're out there rotating animals. I'm up on, in the last 2 years, I've learned how to ride a horse and rope, so I can go to these brandings, and so I can actually be an active member of the crew, right? And
That's
and
really
I
cool.
can pull my own weight, and I've been like learning how to do all that kind of stuff again, kind of playing catch up. But um, like I'm not somebody, and neither is my wife, somebody that's just going to put our name on something, on a company, and then try to sell it. Like, we are the ones that are actively working in it. You have a problem with your order. I may not be able to fix it because I'm not a tech guy, but I will reach out to our tech guy and get it fixed for you. Do
Good.
you see what I mean? Like I'm
Oh, yeah.
going to do that for you because you're my customer. Like, you put your trust into us to get some of the most premium Wagyu and chicken that you can get. And I want to make sure that the experience that you get with our company is the exact same quality that you would get from our products. You know what I mean? So I'm a hands-on kind of guy. I, and
That's
I and
cool.
I don't really like, it's not that I don't trust anybody else. It's just I'm a firm believer that in your business, nobody's going to do it as good as you.
100%. Yep, I get that 100%. I learned that from my parents owned a small business growing up and learned that at a young age. So, do you have the kids out there helping you too?
Yeah.
They're
Hmm.
riding too?
Yeah. Yep.
That's
Yeah. We ride through the pastures and, check on the herd and stuff like that. So yeah, with my older boys they're not able to go up as often because they're in football and they're in their junior and senior year. So they're pretty tied up with that. But a few, like, last summer, they all came up and we were riding horses and, pushing and gathering and branding and all that kind of stuff. So it's a lot of fun. And I love watching them, just enjoy themselves like that.
Yeah, it's funny. Like I think back on like helping my dad and like my grandpa and all that, and it's like at the time I was like, oh, like this is my Saturday, and you're gonna make me haul brush, and like
Yeah.
now, like when I'm working like on my computer, I'm like, I wish I was hauling brush. Like,
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. Right? Like,
yeah,
that's the funny thing is, like, when life gets so complicated and then all of a sudden you're like, man, I wish I could just be out there like digging the trenches to put in the sprinklers again.
yeah,
Like, I don't want to do this. Like
hmm
there's days that I'm on the computer, or I'm in meetings going over marketing plans. Like, how are we going to get to this customer? What's this? What's that? And I have to just do all this stuff sitting on a computer. I'm like, dude, I just want to go ride my horse. Like, I don't want to do this. You know what I mean? Like, I just
Yep.
want to go rope something. Like get me out of here, dude. Oh man.
Yeah.
So enjoy the simple times while you have them, guys. Enjoy
Yeah.
them.
There's so many skills you learn too of like I feel like I learned a lot of creative problem solving of like well I perfect example. I've been the same height since like the eighth grade. I was a big kid, so like, as far as like driving a truck, like my dad would like we would load up a trailer and he's like, "Cool, go dump it and bring it back." And to dump it, we had to back a trailer in. And I'm like 13, 14 years old and I've never hauled a trailer and his only advice was don't jackknife it. I don't want to replace a tail light.
Yeah.
And I remember it was like me and my brother, and it's like he's like, no, it's got to go this way. And then like over time, like we're there, and I figured it out how to back up a trailer on the spot.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it's like
Dude,
things like that. You just
that's a skill set. You know
yeah.
what I mean? That's like not something that everybody knows how to do.
hmm It's funny
Or
because
even just haul a trailer, but
yeah.
sorry, go ahead.
No, like it's come up where a buddy of mine was moving. He moved back to Colorado. I helped him unload, and he had to go return the U-Haul. And eventually he's like, I was like, no, you got to turn it this way. He's like, do you just want to do it? I'm like, yep, boop, first try, backed it up.
Yeah.
And he
Yeah.
did like 10 or
Right.
20 tries. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Awesome.
Mm. Um, cool. We talked a lot about, so Browsey Acres, I want to talk about that a little bit. So
Yeah.
like if people want to get a hold of your Wagyu or your poultry or anything like that,
Yep.
obviously like browseyacres.com, but is there anything
Yep.
else they should know about that stuff?
Yeah. So we do all regenerative ranching. So what does that mean? And a big part of that, right, is I talked about earlier. You're focused on soil health, and you're using the animals as a tool to build the soil, and so rotating them daily, getting them the nutrients that they need, using different species because they act in different ways in regenerating that soil. So like cows will act differently than chickens, and even in there you have the schooners with meat birds that focus. In our schooners they focus 300 pounds of chicken manure in a single spot. Are the egg layers, they kind of go around, they sift through all the cow manure and they pick out the worms and all that kind of stuff. So that, there's um different tools with the different species. And so what we do is we rotate our cows and our chickens to new pasture every single day. And that way it helps to regenerate the soil. And even then, like you'll see some stuff, like some pastures in conventionally raised beef or whatever, where their grass is constantly like this short, right?
Mhm.
Our grass, the idea that we let it go through this growth spurt. So grass from like the ground to say 20% is super slow. From 20% up to about 50 or 60% is still slow. From 60% and up, if you're talking about like a 2 foot blade, 2 foot long piece of grass, so at about 18 inches and up, it's going to sprout a lot quicker. So your growth is a lot quicker. So then you can produce more forage for your animals. And also what that does is under the dirt, your roots usually mirror your grass growth. So underneath the soil, what you're going to do is you're letting the roots grow, and what that's going to do is cause aggregation. I know this, a lot of people may just think, oh, whatever, it's nerdy stuff or whatnot, but that aggregation is what is able to hold the soil. So if you think of like like a kitchen sponge, right? When you let it get hard and crusty and you put it under the water, right, it just flies right off of it,
Yeah.
right? Because it's hard and it's not able to soak up that water. It takes a little bit of time for the water to be able to soak up, compared to if you had already put water in there, wrung it out as tight as you could, put it back underneath that faucet. It's going to soak in the water so much faster, right? And so
Mm.
that's what you want. Aggregation is like, it looks like a little sponge to hold the water in that spot instead of letting it run off of your property or into a ditch or something like that. So that's what regenerative ranching is. It's the health of the soil, and then it that's like the beginning of that life cycle that makes everything else healthy that consumes the feed coming from that soil.
Oh, yeah. No,
Yeah,
I was
and
going.
and so yeah, browseyacres.com, our Wagyu is just it's amazing. We do like I said earlier, we have some of our foundation genetics that we have on the ground. We have a bunch in the freezer right now, so we're ready to ship direct to homes and businesses and all that kind of good stuff, and ready to show people the difference and what got Rhonda and I into this industry and why we wanted to make that difference.
Yeah, no, before this, I was going through because I was just doing a little bit of research and pulled up your website, and I had made the mistake of doing that at like 11:30 a.m. right before lunch. I was like looking
Yeah.
at all these like cuts of meat, and I was like, "Oh, this looks." I had to stop and go eat and come back and finish doing my research for this.
Yeah.
Yeah, it looks awesome, and there's like different levels that people can do of like you can,
Yeah.
talk about that.
Yeah. Yeah. So on our site right now, we have our ground box, right? Which is our basic entry. It's free shipping. It's 10 pounds for I think like 159 or something like that. Again, it's this premium Wagyu. You get it shipped straight to your door. Um, and a big difference that comes from our ranch compared to the store, right? And there's actually a study. There's a guy on social media from Lazy J Meats. He does an amazing job of informing people. But there was a study, I believe, from like Nebraska, University of Nebraska, or a college like that. They took a quarter pound patty that was going to go and be served at McDonald's, and that quarter pound patty had 1,300 different DNA strands in it in a quarter pound, dude. Right? So
Lord,
thinking, what's that?
good Lord.
Right? So think about how much a pound has in the grocery store,
Hmm.
right? You're talking like thousands of animals in a single pound.
Hmm.
That's like the big in food industry and what they're serving you, right? And not even that, but throw in the pink slime stuff that they're filling into there to make that 1 pound, so it makes it cheaper, so they don't have to put so much beef in there. They can put some of the pink slime, and you see what I mean? So it's like
Yeah.
kind of gross, right? But with our 1 pound package is one animal,
Hmm.
right? Every pound package it comes from a single animal. We use a very small processor called Five Marys. They're amazing as well. They're in Fort Jones. And they do such a great job. And it's 1 pound package is one from one animal, not 1,300. You know what I mean?
That's
So,
really cool.
so yeah, and right now we're doing a lot of subscriptions, and we're actually running out of room on our subscriptions. But we have our ground box. We have our meal prep box for those that want kind of like some beef and some chicken, but easy to cook. Like, again, my cousin's here, right? So what I do is I pull out 5 pounds of ground and 5 pounds of breast, chicken breast, and we just cook it up real quick, and we have food to go that makes it super easy for so people that do meal prep. Like you're saying, you own a gym over there.
Mhm.
People that do the meal prep and you want quality, protein. We did the meal prep box, which is 10 pounds of our ground beef and then 5 pounds of our pasture raised poultry or pasture raised chicken breast, boneless, skinless, all that kind of stuff. And then we have what we call our best of Browsey box, and what that does is every month you get at least two prime cuts, so two ribeyes, two New Yorks, a pound of fillets or something like that, right? Like you get like one of those three, and then you have what we call our chef's cut. So you'll get like Denver steak, a flank steak, um skirt steak, or something else that's incredibly amazing, and then you'll get some ground, and then you also get some poultry. So you get 15 pounds of this in this box, and it'll change every month, and actually, we're starting a kind of a partnership with Bubs, and so for every box that you guys get from the best of Browsey, you'll be getting one of those
Actually,
collagen
I pulled a couple of them
peptides.
because I knew we might talk about it. The
Yeah,
individual collagen sticks.
yep. You guys will be getting that, and then also I believe some of the Bub's family will get a discount from Browsey. So this whole thing, it just kind of worked out where we want to make people healthy. We want them to enjoy being healthy, and their road to either continuing to be healthy or to getting to being healthy, right? And how I mean, it just made sense for us to partner on this because with your guys' products, with our protein, it just makes sense.
Yeah. No, it was funny because as you were talking about some of that stuff, it reminded me a lot of like the only ingredient in our collagen packets is collagen. That's all there
Mhm.
is.
Yeah.
For those of you who, if you're competing in anything, it's everything is tested. It's NSF certified for sport. Like there's no impurities or like heavy metals or anything in there, which is like a thing you have to worry about. And um, yeah, that was when you're basically like that and the hydration sticks, which you had at the beginning. Like it's
Mhm.
some of the other brands is like there's a bunch of ingredients and so it's not
Mhm.
as good for you, and like those it's like what's the least amount of ingredients we can use to make this as like still be as good as possible. So
When you have quality ingredients, you don't need much else.
nope.
And I kind of touch base on that when my wife and I, when we cook in for dinner or for lunch or something like that, it really is just a little bit of salt and pepper if we even want it, and we just sear it, right? And we have some kind of carb usually, or a lot of times I don't even eat that. I'll just eat veggies and meat, and that'll be it. And it's so good.
There's
It is
carb in
like
the veggies. Yeah.
way better than anything that I'm gonna get out here. I go to the nicest steakhouse or whatever, and I'd rather just pull one of our ribeyes, cook it up here, and it's so much better.
Yeah. I was looking at that and the way you talk about it and like just looking at so I was looking through on your Instagram and stuff like for Browsey Acres and all that. And I was like, God, I just really want to grill meat right now. This looks so
Yeah.
good.
Right? Like,
Yeah.
and it's so easy. You
Hmm.
know what I mean? That's what a lot of people are like. They get maybe a little bit worried. Oh, it's a $50 steak or something. I don't want to ruin it. And it's like, you guys, it's really difficult to ruin.
Yeah.
The way that you're gonna ruin it is if you overcook it. So if
Hmm.
you time it, right? 2 minutes each side on a griddle, and then 1 minute each side on medium, you're good to go. I
Yep.
promise you. And that's it. And it's super easy. You don't need sauces, you don't need seasonings, you don't need all that stuff, and it's absolutely amazing.
Yeah. And then I was going to say too, for anybody if you're watching this on YouTube or listening on podcast services, I'm going to put the link for Browsey Acres in the description. So wherever you're at, we'll have a link on there if you guys want to go check out what Travis has going on. Um,
Right on.
but
Appreciate that.
yeah. And then real quick, Travis, I feel like kind of approaching the end here. We do a
Yeah.
thing every episode where we just have a list of rapid fire questions,
Yep.
where if it turns into a little bit longer answer, that's fine. But if it's like a real quick, like boom, like totally fine
Yeah.
too.
I
So,
gotcha. I know I kind of get long-winded, so thank you for warning me.
oh no, you're good. You're good. Sometimes these have actually turned into like just really cool, like, oh, I was not expecting that story.
Sure.
But yeah, I kind of wrote them up as like a better way. Like these are questions I like to ask, to, like get to know them a little bit better, like hopefully on
Hmm.
a maybe deeper level from a quick question. Like
Sure.
first one, clear your head. What was the first job you ever had?
I worked at Birkenstock,
The shoe company?
a shoe company.
What'd you do
Yeah,
there?
it was just a little shoe store. I was a salesman at Birkenstock in Encinitas, California. I think that was one of my first jobs. It's so weird. It's funny though. It's one of those things where, I just a normal kid growing up. It's like you need to go find a job,
Yeah.
right? So you just apply places, and whatever place takes you, that's where you're going to work. I need to earn money.
Mhm.
And I do the same thing with my kids. Every summer, you need to get a job to pay for your own gas, your own bills, all that kind of stuff. So while you're in school and while you're doing that, I'll help cover you. But as far as like summertime and you guys have the time to work, you'll be working. And
Yeah.
my one son is having the hardest time finding a job,
Yeah.
but it builds character.
Yeah. Do you still wear Birkenstocks?
No,
Did you have to wear
no.
them when you worked there?
When I worked there, I had to wear them, but it never really, it was never really my thing. I just, I was like I'm from Hawaii, so we'd wear locals. I call
Mhm.
locals like just slippers or cheap slippers or whatever, or go
Yeah.
barefoot. Like that was my thing.
Mhm. That's funny. All right. Rank these three items from best to worst. Salsa, queso, guacamole.
Salsa, guacamole, queso. As far as the ones I love the most in the beginning, so like one, two, three,
Mhm.
right? Salsa would be my number one,
Guac
guacamole,
middle.
and then queso.
Okay.
Queso, I'm not a huge fan of. I don't know why.
Same. It's one of those like I gotta be in a mood for it, but usually
Yeah,
for me it's number three. So actually, I
yeah.
think mine's the same order. I think I like the salsa more, and guac is fine. It's more like I just
But it has to be a good guac. You know what I'm
yeah
saying? Like a
yeah
general guac is not usually the best. So it's like when you have a good guac, that could be number one.
Mhm.
You know what I mean?
I
But
agree with
but
that.
but then, salsa in general, I feel like is more of a number one than guac.
Do you like a really
Whatever
spicy
you think.
salsa?
I'm no. I wouldn't say I enjoy a medium spice. Just because I want to enjoy the taste,
Hmm.
right? And the experience. And I feel like if it's too hot, I get too like, oh man, this is hot. And then that kind of ruins the taste for me.
Yeah,
Even though it might taste good, but it's like, yeah.
that's like I have friends who are like, let's get the spiciest wings. I'm like, why? I want to enjoy this. Like
Yeah.
I'm the same. I like some kick, but I don't want it to
Yeah.
be.
You don't
I don't
want to
want my
fight for your
nose to be
life. You know
running.
what I mean? Yeah.
Yeah.
You don't want to be sitting there like leaking from your
Yeah.
nose, like I was saying, fighting for your life while you're eating chicken wings. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? You're like, "Yeah, I just want to have a good experience. What are you guys doing? Why are you so extreme?"
Yeah. Oh, um, do you have a hobby or interest that people wouldn't know about? Like you never posted on social media. It's like something that you're into that the average person wouldn't know about you.
I wish, man. No, I think the ranching is the what surprised people, and now that's kind of out and there. I mean, as of late, I've really been getting into roping.
Hmm.
you know, um, and doing timed roping, so like competition, like team roping and stuff like that. So, I would say, but that kind of goes hand in hand
It's
with ranching,
adjacent
I
to,
guess.
yeah.
Yeah,
You see, as you were
but
talking about stuff, or like at the very beginning, I was like, I feel like this guy can get really focused and like almost tunnel vision on one thing.
yep,
So,
I
and as
do,
you were talking,
I
I was like,
do.
oh yeah, like so.
Yep.
Do you have a mantra or a piece of advice that you live by? Like something maybe they told it to you years ago and it's just stuck with you.
Yeah, you're never wrong doing the right thing.
I like that. That's a
Yep.
good answer.
And I
Um,
think, and I like to kind of expand real quick on that.
yeah,
That goes into it's, um, whether it puts you ahead or if it doesn't, if it's a detriment or if it's a added thing for you. At the end of the day, I can put my head on my pillow at night and know that I actively try to do the best that I can by just choosing to do the right thing.
100%.
And
Love it.
that's what I teach my kids.
Yeah.
Never wrong doing the right thing.
Hmm. Cool. And then last one, what do you do to relax?
Hang out with my kids. That
Just,
is I love like my daughter right now. Hang out with my family, with my wife and my kids. But like my daughter right now, 2.5 years old, she's so active. She climbs all over me. We go swimming, we go do this, we go do that. We're out with the animals. She's just a bundle of energy, and I just love hanging out with my kids. That's all I want to do. That's why it's like that is my heaven, is hanging out with my family.
that's a that's a good one to end on. I like that one. So cool. Well, Travis, thank you so much for joining us today. If people want to know more about like you or the business, like take a moment, like name Instagram accounts, websites, whatever you want
Yeah.
them to go check out.
Yeah, if you guys want to learn more, browseyacres.com. That's BROWSEY acres.com. You can find us on pretty much any social media page, Instagram, Facebook, I think X, TikTok. If you want to learn more about me, it's Travis Browne MMA on Instagram. You can look me up on Facebook at Travis Hopper Brown. Um, and yeah, I think that's about it. I mean, yeah, check us
Yeah.
out. Let us know how we can help you guys and
Cool. And
go
like I
from
said
there.
earlier, I'll throw links to all those in the description. So if you guys want to check it out, just go into the description and we'll send you there.
Yeah, I
So
think we're giving like the Bubs family a discount too. It'll be Bubs fam, all capitals. I'll send that over to you. But if you order from us, you type in that code and we'll give you a discount.
sweet. Cool. Well, cool. And that kind of wraps it up, guys. Like as always, thanks for listening. You can find the Cult of Recreationalism on all podcasting services, and don't forget to check us out on YouTube or social media. If you look up Bubs Naturals, you're going to find us. And leave us a thumbs up, leave us a 5-star, whatever platform you're on. Every positive review helps. So again, Travis, thanks for joining us, man.
Yeah, man. Thank you. Appreciate it.